Hello, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn on boosting online engagement. My name is Rachel Bell, and this summer I am working at the Guelph Business Center as their social media and marketing intern. So to begin, I just wanted to go through a little bit about what I'll be talking about today and some key takeaways. So I will be talking about how you can boost your online engagement across a few different platforms. And I'm going to start with some general tips and then go into some specifics on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. So to begin with some general tips and tricks that you can use across all platforms, this starts with posting at peak times. So your peak times are different for every single person across every different platform. And you can access when your peak times are by looking at the analytics generated on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube. And this kind of tells you when your audience is on those platforms the most. So this will increase your chances of them seeing your post as well as interacting and engaging with your post. And another thing to note is it's very important to make specified posts for each platform. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube are all very different. And although Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook have a similar format, there is a large difference, especially within Instagram, as it is a very visually focused app, whereas Twitter and Facebook are more content or caption focused. And so to make note of that, you should always be creating content for Instagram that is slightly different than it is for Facebook and Twitter, as those are typically the most primarily used social media platforms. And within that, all of your posts must have a call to action and a hook. The call to action is what will give you that engagement. And what this can be is any kind of question, any kind of recommendation you may have to get your followers to do something. So for instance, if I was creating a post for an event and my goal for the post was to have people register in my event, I would create two call to actions, one that is external outside of that social media platform and one that is internal within the social media platform. Say I uploaded a post about an event onto Instagram and I was requesting that people, once they have read the post, if you're interested, visit our website for more information or click here to register, something that's outside of the platform calling them to do something. But within the platform, you still want to get that engagement. So what I would do is a few lines down or at the end of the caption, I would recommend another call to action, which can be as simple as tag someone you think is interested in this event, or why are you interested in this event? Or is there anything else that you would like to see from us within this event? Something else that will call people to express their own opinions and have something to say to you that will boost that engagement. And also with that, you should always have a hook, something that draws people in. We've always been taught whenever we are presenting something to have an exciting start, have something that wants people to read more or learn more. And this can be as simple as starting with a question or an exciting phrase. But ultimately, you want to be able to create savable content across all of your social medias. Seeing that I've worked in social media in the past, it can be challenging to create a ton of very valuable content when you're trying to create enough that you can always be consistent. So one thing I would recommend is, although you want to be consistent and you want to be always active on your social medias, the quality of what you're putting out is arguably more important than your consistency. Because if you are putting out content that is uninteresting to your followers or unimportant to them, they are less likely to engage with them than content that is less frequent and more interesting to what they care about. So that is definitely something that you should keep in mind when creating content, is something that people want to refer back to, something that you would refer back to. Think about what you have saved or things that really interest you and why you go back to those pages or why you have those things saved. That's the kind of interest that you want to bring into the post that you're creating. And finally, being authentic is incredibly important when trying to increase your online engagement. After all, no one wants to engage with a screen. No one wants to have a connection with an invisible person on the other side of a screen. They want to know who is running the account. They want to have that personality, want to have that connection with an actual person. Most accounts that people follow are because they care about what the person has to say, or they care about what the business does or who is behind it. And that's a very important thing to establish, is who you are and what you want to present to your following. And having that authenticity will allow you to create more engagement as people want to connect with you specifically. Now, moving on to Instagram, a big thing I want to highlight here is the stories or the highlights feature. The stories feature on Instagram, I think, is one of the best ways that you can get engagement from your following. Not only do they have the option to create a question box or a rating box or a voting box for your followings, it can allow you to participate in trends that not only connect you to your own following, but other people's followings as well. There's a specific trend that is really up and coming right now. It's called the tap in trend. And what will appear is a little button that says tap in if, or tap in and add. So this can be something like tap into this trend and upload a photo of your pet. And this not only allows you to have connections from your own followings who are viewing your stories, who may like the photo of your pet, but it also connects you to all these other people who also uploaded photos of their pets. You can view what they did, and they can view yours just as easily by this one little connection of the tap in trend. And that's an amazing way of how you can boost your engagement outside of your own following. And from there, having followers participate and having engaging content is incredibly important as well. So this can be as simple as creating a Q&A or an Ask Me Anything session. And from there, you can gather a bit more information about what your followers are wondering, or if it's just random questions, you could perhaps create a post or create content from that Q&A session. And finally, on your stories and highlights, you can truly voice your own opinions and your own thoughts by doing things like a story takeover. So this could be as simple as you going with your phone and going through the motions of your day, showing someone what you do in your day or how your business runs, or some kind of behind the scenes look at what you're doing or what you're trying to do to help get that engagement from your following. And this kind of links back to being authentic in your posts. If people see that there's a real person behind this, they can relate to you more. It's not just a post that they view as they're scrolling. It's someone who is trying to do something, someone who has a goal just like them, and is just trying to connect with people. And now moving on to the kind of posts that you want to put on Instagram specifically. There's an amazing feature that Instagram just implemented that is collaborative posting. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to directly collaborate with another account and upload one photo or one image that will go up on both of your accounts. So for instance, I could post something with one of my good friends, and it can be a photo of the two of us, and it'll appear on both my page and her page at the same time. What this allows for you to do is it allows you to not only have your own following look at it, but it has their following looking at your page, liking your photos, and engaging with your photo at the same time as theirs. This is a great feature that they put in that I do not think enough people are taking advantage of, as it's such a great way to boost that engagement for you and perhaps another person you may know, to kind of create that bigger connection and that bigger network on a social platform. And again, engaging with your followers is incredibly important. And this not only goes for Instagram, but Twitter and Facebook and YouTube as well. If someone comments, you want to reply as engaging as possible. So not just liking the comment or agreeing with them or responding with an emoji, having something that will further engage them by answering their comment with a question, drawing them in to respond to you and create further engagement from that, or having someone else respond to your question is a great way to kind of get the ball rolling. And then finally, once again, these 2 points also apply to Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, is you should really try and follow a theme on your socials or have a kind of branding. So all of your images, all of your photos look consistent and kind of clear all across the board. So if I were to pull up someone's Instagram page and they have a very clean and neat theme, it's more visually appealing and I may be more drawn to them than a page that has kind of a scattered theme or kind of less visually appealing than something that has a clear color set or specific fonts that they use. It just creates a better look for your posts. And from that, you're able to save, like if someone was viewing your post, they would save your post and know, oh, their theme is very familiar. I know who this is. Every time your posts pop up on their phone, they realize, oh, it's from this page because this is how they do their branding. And you kind of start to build that brand awareness on your socials as well. And finally, you want to be concise and clear in everything you put out. When people are on their phones scrolling, especially through Instagram, they're not viewing their posts for very long. Sometimes when I'm scrolling, and I'm sure you've done this as well, is you spend a second, maybe 2 on a post, and then you're on to the next one. This comes from a place of whether it's just mindless scrolling or you're not really focusing on what's in front of you. And it makes it very crucial that the posts that you're putting out are very concise and clear and get right to the point. And this can be something as engaging as a big text at the top of your photo, saying what you want to say, giving a few details, and then having the call to action. It's kind of that format that you need. You need something that hooks the person in, exactly what you want to say, and then a call to action, all within a concise format. So when they're quickly scrolling through or they're quickly going through things on their lunch break or whatever else, they're still engaging with it because it's straight to the point. They don't have to flip through things. They don't have to kind of go digging for what you're trying to say. It's all right there for them. It has a clear, concise point that makes sense to the viewer. And now some final tips and tricks for Instagram goes back to the data and analytics generated on the app. So these 2 pages that you see here are available on your app, especially if you have a business profile. You can kind of view who your audience is and the demographics within them. And down here, you can also see the most active times and how it fluctuates from day to day. And this kind of relates back for when the peak times are for posting and how you can kind of plan around that. And also another thing I want to note is you should really just experiment. Social media is such an amazing tool, not only because you can gain such a large audience, but it's also extremely low risk. So if something is not working for you, try something else. And if you have no idea where to start, look at your audience, ask them what they want to see, ask them what interests them. And this can be as simple as creating a poll on your story or putting out a post and asking for comments and kind of seeing what other people want to see. Now, if you're at a place where you're really just starting up and you're just not getting that engagement that you want, such that you can't even get those comments asking for people's opinions, a great place to start is look at other people that are in your industry. Look at other people who are doing similar things to you, who have similar goals to you, and see what works for them. If they have a post that does very, very well, and you can tell got a lot of engagement, lots of comments, and is one of their more popular posts, why did that work? You can kind of be analytical and see why things works versus why other things don't. And it could be as simple as posting at those peak times, or it could be as simple as uploading a new post to your story. Trying to have just that little bit more growth that you may see by these little tips and tricks that you just kind of catch on to by being observant. And now moving on to Facebook and Twitter. So Instagram, although it is a more visually based social media platform, a lot of the tips that I gave you apply to Facebook and Twitter as well as YouTube. So now I just want to go into a few things that are specific to Facebook and Twitter that may not apply to Instagram. So Facebook and Twitter are more content-based. They have larger captions, kind of something that you may want to read through versus just quickly scroll through like you do on Instagram. So what comes with this is you really need to be able to understand your audience and who you are reaching. And this can be as simple as looking at your analytics that you may get, or the data that is collected on Facebook and Twitter, and kind of just making note of how that differs from what you have on Instagram or a different social media platform. And this may change the kind of content that you're creating and you're uploading specific to those platforms. Another thing to note on Facebook and Twitter, it's very easy to engage with your community because of the focus on retweeting and reposting and sharing other people's content. On Instagram, it's more focused on your own content, not on other people's. Although you can upload things to your story and tag people in your photos, it's not the same as it is on Facebook and Twitter, where there's a large importance placed on retweeting or favoriting or liking someone else's content. Now you can use this to your advantage to better gain or better boost your engagement on your page. So whether this is engaging with your community, for instance, if there is an event coming up within your community, let's say to collect canned goods for donation, what you can do is you can share that tweet or that post, and from there you're able to draw in other people to your page who are also participating in that event and are also interested in that event that may be following you already. And this will allow you to kind of, once again, branch out and target networks that you don't usually interact with. And this can allow other people to kind of recommend you to people who may be interested in what you have to say and what you're doing, and who may not already be following you. Another thing to note on Facebook and Twitter that I already previously mentioned is being extra responsive. Especially on Facebook, it's important to be as responsive as possible and kind of engage with your following on your end as much as you can. And this can be as simple as using tags and comments effectively. So tagging other pages or other people who relate to your content in your caption is a great way of drawing other people's followings into yours that you have a similar, that you're in the similar industry of. Another thing to do that I already touched on is analyzing others' posts and seeing what works for them and what you can do to kind of have a similar trend in your posts. And finally, on Facebook and Twitter, it is very easy to get carried away with that caption-based content and creating big, long posts that no one's really going to read through. And that's why I put down digestible content. And what this means is if someone's scrolling on their computer and they see a big block of text, they may not want to read through all of that. So what you should do is you should really try and separate what you're trying to say into like a few important points and have it spaced out so you kind of have a story progressing, and then it kind of ends with the main point and then the call to action, and kind of have things structured in a way that it's clear, concise, draws people in, says what you want to say, and a perhaps longer caption than you would do on Instagram without going overboard and having this big block of text. Now moving on to YouTube. So YouTube is a great platform, not only because they are expanding to kind of having various lengths in their videos and having that story content like Instagram does, but it kind of allows you more freedom of what you upload. But what comes with this is you have to be very conscious of what you are uploading and how it affects your audience and what works and what does not. So one of the best things about YouTube is using YouTube analytics and their traffic source. So what their traffic source is allows you to see what brought people to your page, what they searched up to see your video. So let's say I have a video of, I don't know, a makeup tutorial, and I did a makeup tutorial of, I don't know, Halloween makeup, making myself look like a cat, let's say. And someone looked up Halloween tutorial cat makeup. And on traffic source on YouTube analytics, it'll show you what people searched up to bring you to that video. And what you can do from there is you can create content based upon people's searches. So you're able to draw people in, and when they look up certain words, have things general enough in your title of your video that your video will appear when they're looking up that content. So that is why your posts are so important, and how you caption your post is also incredibly important, because it's directly related to YouTube's algorithm and how people are able to find your content. And another thing to note about YouTube is one of the social media platforms that prioritizes pages that have more content. So if you only have 5, 10 videos, you may not get the same popularity as you will just by having more content. And this can be anything. This can be posts with various lengths. So if you have a video that's 20 minutes long versus 10 minutes versus the 15-second YouTube shorts that you can do, having more content on YouTube is a perfect place to start when you're trying to boost that engagement. And it's one that it doesn't really apply that quality is more important than quantity. The quantity on YouTube is extremely important to bring you into YouTube's algorithm, because they don't register pages that just have 1 or maybe 2 videos. But they like to see pages that are more consistent, have a lot of content, and that's something to note when you're starting up your YouTube. Another thing to keep in mind is YouTube is, I would say, fairly more separated than Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are to each other. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are all places that you connect with another person one-on-one, and you have a following. Every single person kind of has people who follow them and people you follow. YouTube, for the user, for the most part, they're just following someone else, not expecting to have followers back if they don't upload. And that's something to keep in mind when you're uploading to YouTube, is try and relate it back to your other social platforms. So this can be as simple as creating a post on your story on Instagram being like, oh, I uploaded a YouTube video, go visit it here, and trying to promote your YouTube across other platforms. And now when it comes to posting on YouTube, one of the best ways that you can build your subscription and your comments and better engagement is having a subscribe button and links to other socials green screen over your video. So what this does is, I'm sure you've all seen it. If you're viewing a popular YouTube video, at the end of the video, there'll be a little button right there on the screen that says subscribe, or a video or a button on the bottom that says click here to follow my Instagram, my Twitter, all those other things. Having that green screen on the ends of your video is a great way to remind people who are watching to subscribe to your channel. And it's a free service that you can use. You just search it up and there's free green screens that you can upload onto your videos that allow you to link your subscription button and your other socials to your video. And the last thing that I kind of wanted to note about YouTube posts specifically is you have to have an exciting cover page and caption. This, of course, goes without saying, but having that hook, having something that draws people in is so important. And this also comes back to having a cohesive theme. If you have videos with just a black screen, or you have other videos where it has tons of people, some might be more captivating than others. Having them kind of have the same theme or the same style is a great way to have a very cohesive brand across your YouTube as well. And finally, having various links and captivating topics, of course, is extremely important. Having various links is a great way to kind of build up the amount of content you have on your YouTube video or have on your YouTube channel, especially with YouTube now offering YouTube Shorts, which are similar to Reels on Instagram, as you can kind of carry across what you're doing on Instagram Reels to the YouTube Shorts. So all in all, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are probably the most primary social medias that you will be using to boost your engagement. And I just want to have some key takeaways before this all comes to an end and kind of remind you that after all, the best way to engage with your following to boost your engagement is really be the instigator of it all. Try to boost the engagement on your end first. So what this means is go out of your way before you post to engage with other people on the platform, engage with people in your industry, engage with your community, and from there you'll get engagement back. It's kind of a give and take. So if I follow someone and I like their photos, they're more likely to follow me and like all of my photos. After all, engagement comes with engaging on either ends. And that's one of the best things that I think I can remind you of when this all comes to an end. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoy today's Lunch and Learn.